Okay, I am back, and so are you. And wasn't that exciting? Trump's his arraignment, I should say, has already been indicted on about 67 counts now. What a miserable bastard. Anyway, the arraignment in the federal courthouse in Miami went before a magistrate went pretty much as expected. Trump and his co-defendant, his body man, never said a word. They just sat there. One of the reporters who was inside said that Trump sat there with a stony look on his face. Oh, Jesus. Before I get into it, thanks again to David Ellis, my sponsor tonight. Thank you, David Ellis, very, very much. It's, frankly, I've said this before, it is people like David and you, perhaps, with your contributions to this little old podcast that keep us going. It's the only thing that keeps us going, is whatever you contribute to keep the wheels turning. So tonight it's David Ellis. Thank you, David. His message. Here's hoping the orange blimp lands his much-deserved timeshare abodes in New York, Florida, Georgia, and D.C. Thanks for keeping it lit, Mike. Thank you for helping me keep it lit. David Ellis, tonight, our sponsor. Thanks, David. Why is this day different from all other days? I think I said that at the beginning of the podcast, right? Well, in a sense, not in a sense. The literal reason it makes it different, I might have mentioned this a couple hours ago when I recorded the first half of the podcast, is the fact that the entire democratic structure of this country is under assault right now by true forces of evil and ignorance. Not that the two aren't interchangeable, because they are. But ignorance and evil is what's attacking this country right now. And the ignorance and evil has permeated our legislative branch of government, not just on the federal level, but on state levels. It's permeated the brains of people who say they want to be president of the United States and replace the orange vomit. I mean, what we are faced with, folks, is absolutely, positively a crisis, and very, very severe. So, as you know, the orange vomit went into the courtroom and said to the magistrate, I plead guilty because I am guilty, because my own words convict me. I just plead guilty. Do with me as... Now, wait a second. That would have been in rational world. But we don't live in rational world. We live in crazy world. And we live in a world right now that has been constructed by Donald Jesus Trump, the Christian crazy people in this country, and a rereading of Mein Kampf and how fascism can eat its way into a country. This is where we are. You may not agree with that. If you don't agree with that, you're crazier than a goddamn loon. Well, you are. And most people listening to this podcast would fully agree. But anyway, he pled not guilty to federal charges. He broke the law by keeping and hiding top secret documents in his Florida nest. This is the first hearing ever. It's an historic court case that, regardless of the outcome, is going to alter the political and legal configuration of this country. There is no avoiding that. Why didn't we listen to Hillary Clinton? Those of us who didn't in 2016. Trump's toy lawyer, Todd Blanche, said when asked, quote, "We most certainly enter a plea of not guilty," end quote. Now, we have to take the words of people who were in the courtroom, because no recording devices, audio or video, visual, were allowed, which is insanity. Just insanity. The federal courthouse in Miami is the Peoples Courthouse. It really is. It's where the law that affects all of us is supposedly dealt with, at least the initial stages, especially in a criminal case against a traitorous dog like Donald Trump. But it is the people's business. We need to have, when this thing reaches trial, we need to have an audio and video of every goddamn word spoken, every little tiny bit of body language, everything. Just like the George Floyd trial. Just like the trial of this murderous son of a bitch over here in South Carolina that shot his wife and son. This is unique in American history, what we are facing. And the American public cannot rely on secondhand reports of what's going on. This is the age of video, and it has been for 25 years now. And for the court to even consider not allowing recording devices in this courtroom once the trial begins is in itself anti-democratic. So who do we rely on here to make sure there's audio and video recordings, live feeds? Well, there's only one institution in this country, and that is media, news media, the press. It is up to NBC, ABC, CBS, and all of its different configurations to file immediately, unless they have to wait for a judge to say no recording devices, but should file immediately a case to get recording devices into that courtroom and live video and audio feeds into the courtroom where this filthy bastard is going to stand trial. Now, the media have plenty of time. Because if you think this is going to start next month, 6 months from now, a year from now, no, it is not. That's my guess based on what I have heard and what I have learned from paying attention to people who understand how the system works in a case like this. What Trump's lawyers will be doing is what Trump's lawyers have always done. Delay, obfuscate, delay some more, file motions, delay some more, obfuscate some more, lie, cheat, steal. And then, of course, the unknown quantity, Eileen Cannon, the judge who will be hearing this trial, unless she has the decency, what am I talking about, to recuse herself. So he walked in with his usual uniform, according to reports I have, his dark suit and his red tie. A few hundred people were waiting outside, waving their flags. Hey, I have a question for you. Why do so many Trump supporters, especially these crazed-looking females, why do they feel the need to wear camo outfits? What the fuck? I mean, they stand on the curb in Miami. I saw several of them like this, and I've seen this so many times. These women dress up in camo pants that, very tight, of course, to just let the boys know, hey, here I am. Camo pants, some sort of I Love Trump t-shirt, and then their little camo hats. What the fuck is with that? I guess they figure if they have to hide in downtown Miami, once the riot starts, they'll be less visible if they're wearing camo? Oh, you crazy damn. Anyway, he was processed, the orange vomit was, by the U.S. Marshals. That included his fingerprints with a digital scanner, I understand. Oh, how cool. The last time I was arrested, it was this messy goddamn ink that got over everything. Now, the truth is, based on the charges against him, not based on conviction because it hasn't happened, no trial, but based on the charges against him, this rotten bastard faces years in prison. Now, he's 76 years old. This trial will not occur for quite some time. Let's say he's 77, 78 when he goes to trial. Let's say, I don't know, say he's 79 when he's finally convicted. The judge sends him to what? 30 days? I mean, he's subject to up to 30 years in prison for what he has been accused of if he is convicted. And how could he not be convicted when the crazy bastard has admitted the crimes on tape in his own voice, on live national television. So, on his way for his arraignment, this rotten bastard, he attacked the veteran prosecutor heading up the case, Jack Smith, calling him a thug and a lunatic in his shitty little dribbly social media posts. This is what, I mean, think of this. Jesus God. This is the part that drives me crazy. This man, this creature, Donald Trump, has as much dignity as a bowl of rotten vanilla pudding. There is no dignity in this man. He calls the special counsel a man who has prosecuted war criminals in The Hague. Trump calls him a thug and a lunatic, which is all Trump has, is name calling. That's all he has. So, if you watched any of this on MSNBC, you saw what I saw. Television crews following the motorcade. Okay, why do they do that? Who the fuck cares how the traffic is being jammed up in Miami so that 9 black Chevy SUVs come roaring down the expressway? But there I was, very similar to his April court appearance in New York City, where he faced state charges of fraud, stemming from his hush money payments to the actress. Now, after this orange bastard entered the courthouse, one of his toy lawyers spoke to reporters gathered outside. This toy lawyer is named Alina Habba. Habba. Who used to say that? Habba. Oh, Jackie Gleason. I know, 90% of my audience just said, who? Habba. Alina Habba, she said, quote, "What we are witnessing today is the blatant and unapologetic weaponization of the criminal justice system." I mean, how can you be a lawyer and say shit that is designed strictly to agitate his already crazed followers who have a very tenuous grasp on reality to begin with? Blatant and unapologetic weaponization of the criminal justice. You son of a bitch. So, as we've heard so many times, this bastard who is trying to get the Republican presidential nomination, and don't even let me get started on the people who also want to be the Republican nominee for president. This crowd of cowardly fuckers, not one of them who will make the definitive statement that anyone who votes for Trump is a goddamn freak and wants the dissolution of the United States. No, not Asa Hutchinson. Certainly not, what's her name, Haley, Nikki Haley. None of these people. And Tim Scott, you should be embarrassed. My God. A black senator who does not have the goddamn courage to call a white racist pig criminal a white racist pig criminal. Shame on you, Timothy Scott. Oh my God, these people. So when Trump does get the Republican of the Christian fascist nomination to be president again, he will face the interesting prospect, or I should say America will. There will sit this son of a bitch at the defendant's table for federal and state trials that may overlap with the presidential primaries that are heading our way like a train with no brakes. And while the nominating conventions are going on, I mean, we are entering a period of absolute madness. Are you aware of that? It will take everything that you and I have, and I hope we do this together, to retain a grasp on sanity with what we are going to see. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.